Well, welcome to Politics in Full Sentences. Here we go again, folks, with another update on interesting subjects, and we got a beauty tonight. So, as we know, we're here there because it's for those who love free markets and free minds, and it's a very important tonight because we've got Johnny here and Beth, who are going to we're going to discuss a very controversial subject. We've both cornered Jonathan in here, because we think he might do a runner. But we're going to interrogate him on vaping. Did you hear that, folks? Vaping. Everybody's got an opinion about vaping, good or bad. This guy is one of the bad guys. He's actually producing it, advocating it, and he stands up for it. Now, half the population believe that's the right thing to do, half don't. So tonight, Beth and I are going to put him through the ringer and see what it comes out. So welcome. How are you involved in the industry anyway, Jonathan?
I'm involved with my business partner, Ben. We are co-owners in Vapo, which is our retail brand, and Alt, which is our FMCG product, which are readily available through your supermarkets and oil and gas chains throughout New Zealand.
So you cover whole of New Zealand. You've got retail outlets right through New Zealand.
We've got Vapo has 11 retail outlets throughout New Zealand, and Alt has product available in 1,500 sites throughout New Zealand.
Well, he ticks the box so far, Beth, because they're obviously entrepreneurial, going like mad, and business orientated. So far, so good. But we've got other questions to ask, as you might guess. So vaping, I mean, that's quite controversial at the moment, and I can see you guys are under attack in every angle. I guess the medical industry's after you, the cigarette industry's after your business, and of course the do-gooders in our society are actually saying that you're upsetting the children. The school principals are after you guys. Everybody wants a piece of you. What's your response to that?
Yes, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think the media attention's really ramped up on our industry. We've been advocating our industry and the benefits of it for smokers for many years now, and for many years lobbying government for regulation, specifically to put industries, this industry and companies like ours, providing us with guidelines so we can effectively produce quality.
You want regulation?
Oh, we've been calling for regulation for years. Yeah, we're desperate for regulation, pragmatic, sensible regulation.
And why is that, Jonathan? Is that to ensure that the product is safe and consistent quality? What sort of regulations would you like to see around vaping?
Exactly.
Or
exactly.
Vaping products.
Yeah, currently, there's many retailers throughout New Zealand. We've collectively, the vendors have come together and formed a alliance or an association, the VTANs. So there's 50 business owner operators in that association right now who have been collectively awaiting regulation from the government. This still hasn't come to pass or come into fruition. So now we're actually setting up our own standards and committees to self-regulate, to prevent issues like what you talk about with people being worried about youth and quality issues from
Jonathan,
occurring.
you must be terrified. I mean, regulations, you're putting this in the hands of politicians, and the United States right now, they're looking at banning it completely.
Well, they're talking about a flavour ban. The United States has had a market for 15 years, and this year have decided to start putting some focus on it due to a outbreak of youth uptake in e-cigarettes. Again, a pragmatic approach within the United States 10 years ago, 5 years ago could have prevented that from happening. So that's why we're here.
Isn't that what's also proposed here as a ban on flavours or a limiting of flavours as part of this bill?
Well, yeah, I think Jenny Salisa came out and I don't think anyone was aware of this and mentioned that there would be a flavour ban. I'm not sure where the democratic process is with that, but I can understand based on the back of the fear-mongering coming through the media on the back of these 7 deaths in the US.
So what's your view on flavour banning?
I think it's ridiculous.
Why?
I think, it's just if politicians or Labour think that a ban on flavours is going to prevent experimental youth getting, it's just as plausible for youth to get their hands on a tobacco flavoured product as it is a flavoured product. Also,
This is somewhere just on that. This is somewhere where I want to back Jonathan up. Okay.
You do.
I'm going to back him up on this, particularly on the flavour.
You made him
issue.
smile. Did you notice that? Yeah.
Hey, first of all, can I just say a bit of a shout out to some of the forums that I know are tuning in tonight? Vape Fam NZ and Vape NZ and the AVCART forum. So I let them know that we were going to be online.
Oh, you've
tonight.
just declared your side.
Well, I wanna confess I've been lurking around on some of these Facebook groups for a while, and I haven't really revealed myself because I was a shameful smoker. I was a secret smoker, and I didn't want anyone to know that I was trying to get off the cigarettes by taking up vaping. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of quietly slotted into some of these forums so I could glean a bit of advice. And I very soon found a product that worked for me, very inexpensive, very easy to use. And I would like to say that's nearly 18 months ago now. And I have managed to get off the cigarettes with
Fantastic.
some vaping.
So, Jonathan, were you a smoker? Because I believe your business partner wasn't he?
we were both smokers.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it's just part of that sort of coming of age, unfortunately, in society. And I was probably early 20s, probably 21, 22 when I started. Obviously, a lot of people are a lot younger than that. I don't have a reason for why I started. It was, social.
So tell me, is that why you took up vaping? To get off it, or was it just because it was cool?
100%. It was one of those things where you're sitting down with your GP and you might go annually or whatever it is, and you believe you're a social smoker or not even a social smoker, and finally he's asking you some questions and he's asking you your intake, and you realise you're going through a pack and a half in a weekend when you're out, having a beer.
So what age were you when you had your first vape?
I would have been 20.
Oh, an old man.
28.
Right.
28, I think.
I think I had my first puff of a cigarette at 8.
I just want to bring us back to the flavours, though, Max, because, when you're looking for something to replace that taste of a cigarette, you don't want another thing that tastes like a cigarette.
100%.
You actually want something that's it's a more pleasant flavour that your breath's not going to stink. So it was finding a flavour that helped me get off the cigarettes. And hey, look, I was a social smoker, but I was in one of those situations that when I went to the doctor, I couldn't declare myself, or to my insurance company. I couldn't honestly declare myself as a non-smoker. I was a casual social smoker, but the fact was I was still going through maybe a pack a fortnight. So to find something that helped me get off that, and it's discreet, it has no residual, I use a vape pen, virtually no smoke. I'm not one of these cloud blowers or anything. The flavour was really important to me because I had to find a flavour that I liked.
So why are the flavours so attractive to children? Or are they deliberately selected for that reason? That's the allegation,
No.
Jonathan.
Yeah,
Gotta put it on you.
I don't know if the evidence supports that. I think the knee-jerk reaction is if it doesn't taste like a fruit or a dessert, then the kids won't like it, or the children won't like it. But the reality is we've still got, whilst decreasing traditional tobacco uptake within our children, within the youth, it's still there.
It doesn't prevent them taking up tobacco.
Tobacco doesn't
taste like tobacco.
Taste good at all. And I think as an ex-smoker or ex-social smoker, I think when you first start vaping and you might try a cigarette, a week into it or whatever, as you're trying to figure out what works for you, the taste is the first thing that hits you. Flavours are a fantastic means to get someone to convert from smoking to a significantly less harmful alternative, which is vaping. Exactly as what was discussed, if it converting to a tobacco tasting product, initially it helps, whether it's menthol or tobacco or a mint flavour, it helps because it's a familiarity. But once you then can sort of get a more diverse range and try a fruit flavour or a dessert flavour, it's more enjoyable.
Now, I understand that some of the flavours are the problems that are causing difficulties. Is that part of what reason you want regulation on them?
100%. There's the UK and EU has a TPD regulation from 2016. They have processes in place.
What's TPD? What is that?
It's the e-cigarette regulation, which exists over there in Europe and the UK. And effectively, they've identified certain flavours or additives that can be found within flavours that can cause harm. If in order to get certification or a compliance certificate from one of many agencies or laboratories that are in a position to award that certification, you can't have any of those molecules in your flavouring. So it's quite a simple process. We do it with our company. We send our flavour profiles through to the testing lab in the UK. It's relatively expensive. It's about £1,200 per flavour per test. They analyse it and provide you with a certification if there's none of those, very few flavour constituents that could possibly cause harm.
Now, Jonathan, I see the principals are really against this. They say that taking up a vapour within schools is massive. I went onto your website and I nearly couldn't get in there because it's over 18. So, I mean, obviously you're not trying to encourage young youth to get in there.
No, for any business owner or business in this industry, the thought of a teenager, under 18 years of age, or potentially out of their younger than 13, having your product, it's scary.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. Again, this is where regulation comes into place. We've been told it's coming for 2 years now. It hasn't, hence why all these vendors, like-minded individuals have come together wanting to put competitive differences aside and agree to a process where we can work collectively to prevent youth uptake, because quite frankly no one else is doing anything about it. The products are readily available. Not just vape shops are importing these. Corner dairies are importing these products from overseas, from the likes of India, Malaysia.
So is there a bill been drafted already?
It's being drafted. We hear different things every week. It's ready to be presented. It's not. Speaking from the VTAN's point of view, as a collective of vendors and businesses who want some guidelines, are frustrated. A, because we don't know what's going on. B, it would be nice to have some form of input.
Yeah.
It seems other
Beth,
companies.
have you heard anything about it as a deputy leader of ACT? Have you heard anything at all about
No, well, I mean, I'm not in Parliament yet.
No.
But no, I've heard about it because I am in these forums where the discussion's taking place, and exactly as Jonathan says, we're not sure when the bill's going to be presented, what form it's going to be presented in. We're waiting to see it. There is a petition out though at the moment, particularly around the flavours, and maybe this is a way of influencing what the bill might look like, is to get that petition.
So
out
taking
front.
ACT's philosophy and principles, you don't like any regulation. So would you be against this?
I don't think ACT comes from a position of not wanting any regulation. Regulation where regulation
not
is
too
necessary.
many, then, shall we say? Yeah.
We're about less regulation, fewer regulations. But the thing the reason why this is a perfect topic for us to be discussing is ACT is about freedom of choice and personal responsibility. And if you take away this as a choice for people who want to get away from a more harmful addiction, you're also taking away their opportunity to take responsibility for their health. We've just talked about when you go to your doctor now and he's going, now, are you still smoking, Beth? Are you smoking? And you have, well, I'm down to about 5 a week. You're still a smoker. It's still bad for you. And I know I was still waking up, even if I was down to a few a week, with a cough every morning. Even the GP will say, have you thought about vaping? Or when I said, look, I've switched to vaping. Fantastic. This is fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
Something like 95% less harmful.
But doesn't
than
vaping
smoking.
still have nicotine in it? Isn't there a degree of it?
It does have nicotine
Different
in it.
strengths you can choose from.
Different strengths. Some products have no nicotine in them whatsoever. As vaping was designed as an alternative, and is currently the most successful option globally to convert cigarette users to something less harmful.
So nicotine's obviously addictive.
Nicotine is
and
addictive.
that's the one that people are frowning upon.
But then
as
so is caffeine, isn't it?
Beth's saying it's a freedom of choice.
But nicotine in the form that you take it in vaping is yes, it's addictive, but vaping is less harmful than cigarette smoking because you've got all the carcinogens in cigarette smoking. You know, it's a combustive.
Yeah,
you know,
nicotine. There's
form.
no evidence that shows nicotine is harmful to you.
It's about as bad as drinking coffee, and how many of
yeah.
us are addicted to
It's
a
the
couple of cups of
2,000
coffee
other
a day?
chemicals in a roll, you know, as rollie or a cigarette that
That's
are
right.
the elements or the constituents or chemicals that kill you. It's nicotine in vaping. You can control your intake. So we've had, you know, numerous customers who will start with a higher level of nicotine and over time wean themselves off and go to a zero nicotine product.
Okay.
And that can take
that's good.
a year, 2 years, 3 years. It depends on how much tobacco that person was using beforehand.
Yeah.
And maybe they might enjoy their tobacco or they might now enjoy their vaping product. But they have the option to get down to zero nicotine. Again, that's not a harmful chemical. It is an addictive chemical, and that's where the concern comes from, you know, with parents and their children.
So if I'm hearing you right, I mean, obviously you're selling this to us now, saying it's good to, and Beth is too, to get you off, you know, smoking habit. It's very good for that.
All the evidence
would you
globally
have
highlights that.
customers that use it for recreational use? They enjoy it.
I'd say that we would, just like there are people that smoke.
And a lot of
socially.
us have never smoked it or tried it. What is it? What is it about it that you enjoy? Does it give you?
I was a smoker, so for
the
me,
nicotine.
using it, it's not just the nicotine hit; it's behavioural patterns, which are
the
there's
hand
a lot
to
of
mouth.
evidence.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the habitual hand to mouth thing.
It's, yeah,
In a
it's-
social situation,
yeah,
you know,
and-
we're either we've got a drink or food or
and
cigarette.
in the morning with your coffee, that's what people find hard about standard forms of NRT, gum patches, and that's why
Yeah, that's
the
right.
industry
They
is
don't-
collapsing because
those-
vaping is not only is it's easier. I don't think you don't have to break the habitual elements of your smoking addiction. And that's where, you know, when you're trying to quit cigarettes, and I think everyone that's smoking, the statistics show a vast majority of them have tried or want to quit cigarettes. When you're at a bar or you're in a routine and your mate's going outside for a cigarette and you're sitting in that bar, it makes it very hard. So there is that social pressure. But you can go
you're telling
outside
me.
with the vape.
I used to work in an organisation. They used to a little cluster with the CEO used to go outside, and there would be a little cluster around them. So yeah, it does have a social gathering.
And it's not just the fact that it's less harmful, like at least 95% less harmful for the person using the vape, but the second-hand, the actual vapor that the vapor that the person vaping is exhaling, there's absolutely no evidence
Harmless
to show
too.
no harm related to that.
So there's talk also of like cigarettes had packaging labels on them, so how it can be harmful for you. I mean, what would your response be that if they suggested that to vaping? Your products had to have
Our products have a nicotine warning.
Oh, they
label
do?
on them.
Okay.
The products that we sell into, you know, our foodstuffs, progressives, BP, Z, Noble, they have a nicotine warning label on them in both English and Te Reo, Māori.
Okay.
Just effectively saying nicotine is an addictive chemical. We thought that there was no regulation or any legislation around having to do that. We felt like that was the moral and ethical approach.
Volunteering.
Yeah, and I think having a warning label regarding nicotine products, we're not against that at all.
Now, there's been a court case, I believe, which exempted you from the current smoking legislation. So, in fact, you can vapor anywhere you like. What's your thoughts? Should there be a protocol in regards to that? Because I'll get in the motorway and I see cars with smoke pouring out the windows, and I
It's
thought
not
I'd
smoke. It's not. It's
it's
vapor.
vapor. Beg your pardon.
And who are they harming?
Yeah. Well, it depends if they had a passenger in there.
No, the vapor's not harmful.
I think,
What's the protocols that you would like to see?
I mean,
Or do you think there should be none?
I think
Beth does.
I
Beth's
don't
about
think-
freedom of choice.
I
isn't it?
don't think they're I think it's a step too far intruding on people's personal space in their cars and telling them they can't vape. I mean, sorry, that's a step too
yeah.
far.
What about the passenger in your car?
I guess that's if you've got someone in your
It's
car
just
who
a
wants a vape
courtesy.
and you've got a relationship with that person, and it comes down to your
That's
own
the protocols
feeling.
I'm asking you. What are the protocols? Do you think someone in a bar and restaurant should be able to vape?
No,
Well, and
no.
I think that's up to the bar owner.
Yeah, and
Surely
currently
that's up
it
to
is.
the person who owns the business whether they're going to allow that in their business. It's
Because
them that's taking the commercial
There's
risk.
talk of that being in the bill as well.
I don't think vapers, lump them all together, have any issue with following sort of social norms in a sense that if you're in a bar in an enclosed bar or an environment, going outside to have a vape, these people are ex-smokers. They're used to smoking, having to, follow those standard sort of, those guidelines, I guess, or the law as it is for cigarettes. So, and you want to go outside from time to time and get some fresh air and sit there. So, I don't think you'll find many people vaping who are going to jump up and down if you said that they can't vape inside a bar, inside a cafe. There's balconies, there's courtyards. People can go out there and do what
That's certainly the protocol now. I come from another era where you could hardly see in a bar.
Well, yeah,
It's just choking with
at 18 years of age.
And I don't think
was
that's
there
going to
too,
happen again, but that is a worry for some of the older folk out there.
For sure. When I was 18, I'd come home and my clothes would stink of tobacco, and I wasn't a tobacco smoker or user at that point in time. So
Just being around other in the thick of it, literally.
yeah, it's disgusting. And from my perspective, even though with the business, I don't want to sit if I'm having at a restaurant having something to eat with my parents or friends and someone next to me blowing a huge cloud.
Yeah.
I think people majority of people are very respectful, and I think common sense will prevail with that.
Yeah, I think you'll find most vapors would be courteous about it.
I haven't heard
considerate
of a case where I'm sure it has happened. I haven't seen it myself.
So what do you got to say to all these medical fraternity that are coming at you guys at a million mile an hour right now in the media, saying that there is proven that there's going to be doing damage to individuals? Here's your chance to have a statement, and people are going to be listening to you.
There's a lot of medical professionals who are advocating for this industry. There's always going to be some people focusing on, I guess, the negative side of this industry and what it is that we're trying to achieve. It's important to not lose focus with vaping and this industry in general. This industry exists to provide a healthier alternative to smokers. Let's not get carried away and change the whole narrative and focus on just vaping without actually associating it or aligning it to how this industry has grown, and that's to prevent harm and to get people off tobacco. If someone can use a product and it's proven to be 95% less harmful than traditional tobacco, we should all be supporting that.
So, Jonathan, do you welcome the cigarette companies now selling products that go in competition to you?
I don't welcome them. No, I think would have been
that's
nice.
from a commerce perspective, or from.
Well, it's a little bit ironic, isn't it? You create an epidemic, and then you try and bat away the solution. And now you're joining in on that solution. I think it is what it is. They have a lot of money and a lot of reach, and the reality is they can get their vaping products into places that independent businesses like us can't. So if that means that an individual has access to a product where they would otherwise have only had access to cigarettes, and they're using that product, that's a good thing. Because someone not using a smoke and using a vape is a good thing. Would I prefer for that not to be the case and for that to be our product or another New Zealand business's product? 100%. But that's the nature of
the competition. Yeah. So I imagine mass production, if they set up some plant somewhere in the globe and then actually distributed from that, it certainly would be a challenge to you guys. And there is a lot of people saying that it's disgraceful that, is it Pall Mall or Rothmans are now actually stepping into this market straight away. But I couldn't quite understand their logic. You think it'd be trying to relieve our globe of their carcinogenic smoking?
I think people see tobacco giants getting into this new industry as a way of maintaining control and
market share.
Yeah, and I think, and to be fair, New Zealand national retailers have been fantastic in ensuring that there are independent businesses, options from independent businesses, and Kiwis in general have been very supportive of that. We're doing very well in market at the moment against tobacco on the shelves next to them. And the vape industry in general makes up majority of the sales and the gross revenue, the independents, and that is, a lot stronger than the figures that are going through your supermarkets and oil and gas.
I'm really interested if there's going to be legislation, and I love the way you guys are actually projecting that you're encouraging it, and I think that's sincere by listening to you today, and I think that you want to be involved with that. Now, what specifically would you like to see in it?
What specifically would we like to see? We would like to see some form of quality standards and quality control.
For the flavours, you said that before.
I think it's important. There's a lot of vendors, in the VTANs Association who have been working hard for many years, investing significant amounts of money in having clean environments, clean rooms, laboratories, employing qualified chemists, biochemists, and having these sorts of individuals and spending that sort of money to have those people in key positions to analyse and oversee the manufacturing of the liquid. I think it would be prudent to have some level of control there. We'd like to see that. We'd like to see some form of... There's a lot of talk about advertising. I think that you grow up in New Zealand, every corner dairy has tobacco. It's ingrained in our culture, unfortunately. You know it. You need to be able to advertise this product. You need to be able to display the fact that this outlet has these products available, because it's not known yet that an alternative is available.
Without this being openly available and advertised, it actually has an air of kind of mystery and underground scene about it.
Yeah.
And it makes people, because that's why someone like me found it quite difficult to get the information. I wanted to talk to people about it, but I didn't want to reveal that I had a problem with smoking. So, the information wasn't readily available, and we need to make it more readily available so people can easily make the switch, and it's not this dark underground that we're venturing into.
That's so true.
It's what it can feel like.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are going on the Facebook groups like yourself to let other vapers or people using these products educate them. So there needs to be... Education is key in any industry, and it would be great for the Ministry of Health, who's launched a fantastic Vaping Facts website, to come out and endorse that more, and actually educate people and let them know what the benefits of vaping are if you're a smoker, and what the risks are. Because when people are ignorant and they don't know what this product is, it's very easy to come to a decision, make a decision on it based on clickbait media. So that's where we stand.
Is it any legitimacy? Is the latest spook is that it gets in your respiratory system, starts to clog up your cells, and I think that's the flavours again, is it?
No. What's come out of the US regarding these deaths is a black market substance. It's THC being mixed with thickening agents.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thickening agents that you'll find in creams that you can apply to your skin. People have been using those products. The thickening agent has been the cause of preventing oxygen and CO2 from going in and out of the lungs, and therefore these people have unfortunately passed away. There are 0 deaths worldwide right now attributed to nicotine vaping product. 0. And we're losing 20,000 people a minute to tobacco. So
from your perspective then, you're actually a health benefit to New Zealanders. That's the way you feel about it, because you're helping people get off smoking.
We're a health benefit for smokers, for New Zealand smokers.
Yeah.
And for those that are not smokers taking up vaping, is there any concern for that?
There is some concern, because ideally you don't want anyone who's not smoking using the product. It's harmless. It's not, it's significantly less harmful than tobacco. There are, when you talk about flavours and the fact we are currently in an unregulated market, there is potential for some level of harm there. But if someone's going to realistically, if the options are someone picking up tobacco or smoke, or picking up a vape, I would applaud them if that was a vape that they picked up.
Right,
and you've got to weigh that against the number of people who will be giving up smoking and exchanging it for vape. The advantages the advantages, the benefits of having a readily available, safe product for smokers to get off smoking has got to be more than the small risk of a small number of people perhaps picking it up just purely for
You're
social
paying her.
reasons.
She's doing a great job here. And I can see, Beth, that
is.
you actually see this as a benefit to you personally. And what you're
Yes.
saying, it could
And
be a
not
benefit
just
to
me.
other
Look,
smokers.
I have seen dozens of my friends. I've seen dozens of my friends give up smoking and replace it with vaping, and that's what convinced me that this was something that was worth pursuing. And hey, look, can I just another
We've
shout
got
out?
to sum up in a minute.
No, I know. Well, before we do, another shout out to those people watching that may never have watched an ACT podcast before. We are about freedom of choice, personal responsibility. If this kind of discussion which we're having, which is really important, has appealed to you, please go and check out our website. Have a look at our other policies and see what you think of some of those too.
That was an unpaid advertisement from Beth Hooderbrick for the ACT Party. And folks, we've got to wind it up there. Look, Jonathan, thank you so much. And I've got to say, after listening to you and speaking to you, I'm actually going to support it now. I think you've done a great job, and the honesty as well. It's not all peaches and cream, but you guys are doing a good service for our society, and that's what you want. I just hope the politicians, Beth, are going to listen to this guy and actually, with the legislation or the pending legislation, that it actually isn't too harsh.
Well, good on Jonathan, and I hope that the legislators are listening to you, because we've got an
Yeah, we hope
opportunity
so.
here to get in front of this bill and make it meaningful change, positive change.
So there you are, folks. We wrung him out and twisted him, and he actually came up Trump. So, no, it's probably not a good word, but he came up well.
No, we don't like that word.
No. But that's politics in full sentences for this week. And so come back next week. We're going to have another exciting guest, because I've got to say today was a beauty. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Beth.
Max.